My grandmother's house on Clover Bend Road smelled like cardamom and cedar, and for 28 years I assumed it always would. Nana Rosette had lived there since before my mother was born. A pale yellow house with a wraparound porch in the hill country outside Fredericksburg, Texas, where the evenings came in slow and gold and the pecan trees threw long shadows across the yard. I grew up spending summers there, my cousin Delphine and I running barefoot through the grass until our heels were stained green. We were only 2 years apart in age and had shared everything: secrets, clothes, the twin beds in the back room with the quilt Nana had sewn from our mother's childhood dresses. When our parents' marriages fell apart in the same year, Delphine and I held each other through that too. I trusted her the way I trusted gravity. I never thought to question either. The house was left jointly to both of us in Nana Rosette's will, though Nana was still very much alive, and the will was more of a formality, something her lawyer suggested when she turned 78. Delphine had been the one who drove Nana to that appointment. She'd told me so herself, laughing, saying Nana had worn her church hat just to sign paperwork. When Nana had her second stroke, I was the one who went. Delphine had just started a new position managing events at a hotel in Dallas, and I was freelancing, my schedule more forgiving. It made sense. I packed a bag for 3 weeks and ended up staying 6 months in her house in Fredericksburg, learning how to administer her medications, how to adjust her pillows so the pressure sores wouldn't return, how to coax her into eating when she had no appetite. Delphine called every Sunday. She sent money twice. She said I was an angel. She said she didn't know what any of us would do without me. I believed every word. The first sign I almost missed entirely. It was a Sunday call in month 4. Delphine's voice carrying that particular brightness she used at work. The hostess voice, warm and frictionless. She asked how Nana was doing, and I told her about the new physical therapist, about the small improvements, and then I mentioned almost as an aside that the property tax notice had come and I'd left it on the kitchen counter in case she needed to log it somewhere. There was a pause, half a second, maybe less, before she said she'd already handled the taxes, not to worry. I didn't think much of it. She had power of attorney for financial matters. It was reasonable she'd paid it early. But that night, putting Nana to bed, I found myself thinking about the pause, the way it had arrived before her answer rather than after. I told myself I was tired. I told myself 6 months of caregiving had made me paranoid and small. Then, the neighbor, Hendrik Voss, stopped me at the mailbox on a Tuesday afternoon. He was in his 70s, a retired surveyor who'd lived 3 properties down for as long as I could remember, and he looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite name. He said he'd heard the house was being sold and that he was sorry to see it go. I laughed. I told him there must be a misunderstanding. He nodded slowly, the way old men nod when they are being polite rather than convinced, and went back inside. I stood at the mailbox for a long time after that, the mail in my hand, the cardamom smell drifting through the screen door behind me, and something cold moved through my chest that I did not have a name for yet. I said nothing to Delphine. I started looking. The first thing I found was the listing, still cached in a real estate search result. Clover Bend Road, 4-bedroom wraparound porch, asking price $412,000. Listed 3 months ago. My name was nowhere on it. I sat in the kitchen at 2 a.m, Nana breathing softly in the next room, and I read it 4 times. Then I found the sale record through the County Appraisal District website. Closed 6 weeks ago. The buyer was an LLC registered in Austin. I searched the LLC and found its registered agent was a man named Bryce Calloway. I searched Bryce Calloway and found his LinkedIn, and in his profile photo, he had his arm around Delphine at what appeared to be a rooftop party, both of them laughing, her hand on his chest. I was so still I could hear my own heartbeat. I kept digging, quietly, opening new tabs, writing nothing down that I couldn't memorize. Then I found the deed. Delphine had used a forged document to present herself as the sole heir, processed while the will itself was never officially probated. She had sold a house that was half mine to her boyfriend's company, and she had done it in the 6 weeks after Nana's stroke while I was here. Here, sleeping in this house, feeding her grandmother's soup and changing her grandmother's sheets, and she had called me every Sunday and called me an angel. I was almost caught once. I had pulled up the deed document on my phone at the kitchen table, and Nana called out from her room, and I knocked my phone off the table, scrambling up, and when I came back, it had gone dark. My hands were steady when I smoothed Nana's blanket. I have always been good at steady. I closed every tab that night. I called no one. I lay in the dark and felt something in me go very, very quiet. Not the quiet of grief, but the quiet of someone who has just decided something. Delphine was expecting a sister. She was going to get a stranger. I thought about her voice, that hostess brightness, and I thought about the 6 months I had spent in this house, the woman I had cared for, because I loved her, and because I trusted that the people I loved were who they said they were. I thought about how patient I had been. I decided to stay patient a little longer, not to heal, to finish. I retained an estate attorney in San Antonio without telling anyone. I filed a probate petition that forced the will into official proceedings, which triggered a title examination on the property. The forged document surfaced within 3 weeks. I cooperated fully with the county. Delphine was contacted by investigators in November. Bryce Calloway's LLC had to unwind the transaction. The sale was voided. The property reverted to the estate. Delphine was charged with deed fraud and forgery, both felonies in Texas. She lost her position at the hotel the same week her arrest made the local Dallas news. She called me crying. I let it go to voicemail. I have never listened to it. I live in Fredericksburg now. I took over the property management of Nana's house while she finished her recovery, and I rent out the back cottage to a quiet artist who leaves vegetables from her garden on my porch. Mornings I drink coffee on the wraparound porch and watch the light come through the pecan trees in long, slow sheets. The cardamom smell is still there. Nana is still there. Everything Delphine tried to take, I still have. The people who hurt you while you're busy loving them always forget one thing. You were paying attention the whole time.